somebody on the street
Right.
says,
So
I want
I've
to be
been
part
very
of this
bad about
revolution,
doing the
how do I
utters,
do it?
mainly because I don't have a still camera on my cell phone. But I'm going to do an utter of the live show we're now doing with Stowe and show you what's going on, all right? Right now, Andrew Hyde and Neha Baldwin are the two guests, or Stowe is the guest. They're all guests. They're all hanging out and talking about basic principles in social media.
I said it trumps everything else for me personally. It trumped my master's degree in computer science in terms of a world-changing, life-changing, mind-changing event or activity. So that's the end of Web 1.0, start of Web 2.0. The social medium thing has started trickling through, and then we started to see the rise of much more social applications, social networks, and so on. So now I'm a firm believer in flow apps, which are much more interesting in terms of the sort of social complexity of what's going on. So Twitter is a wonderful example of that. And then there's a lot of things that are much more asynchronous that still have had a big impact on people. Flickr and Facebook. There are social communities, very rich social communities there, and you can find in there whatever it is you are seeking. If you're seeking fame and fortune, it's in there. If you're just looking for companionship or somebody to talk about movies, you can find it. So everything's in there. Now, it doesn't, just because fame and fortune is in there doesn't mean everyone's going to dig it up. The same rules apply. I mean, gravity still works, right? So you have to be interesting, charismatic, intellectually stimulating, or brilliant to become well known in any context. And just because you want to play the guitar doesn't mean you're a great guitarist. And you have to put the time in. So the fact that somebody like Pistachio can come out of the clear blue sky and become well known in a relatively short period of time is because in the previous 9 years she was doing things that were forming her, and when she hit this medium, bam, it seemed like a super saturated solution, and all of a sudden interesting things just emerged. But there's as the Ignat Paderewski once said, before I was a genius, I was a drudge. So for a long time, people have to toil in obscurity before they become well known. Sometimes that toil in obscurity is, living a bizarre and strange and maybe even painful life. And then when you turn to something like social media, those aspects of your character can be drawn out, and all of a sudden, you're Z. Frank or Michael Arrington or Laura Finn.
So Laura's going to come because apparently we've talked too long.
No. I was going to offer one of you a break if you want.
I think Andrew's actually fit more words than I've heard him say in a month more time.
Any advice for me this startup weekend? I don't know if you know any of the history of it, but we've been going for about 8 months. And right now I've got it to that point where it is, paying, its way and successful enough to be able to go out and fit in the world and put on a weekend event and sell out. But I'm turning it over to somebody else now, working on a personal startup of mine, and kind of been weird, in limbo between very big opportunities. So, any observations for me?
Well, talking about the startup weekend, it's one of those contagious meme ideas. I think you and I talked when we met in South by Southwest about the fact that someone had tried to knock it off. So in a way, it's an idea that's bigger than the container you got it in. So on one hand, the notion of this idea, and it's spreading, has a certain has certain ramifications for it spreading across the my N95 chirping. But the other idea of this particular thing as a business or a nonprofit or however you structure it, and certainly to the degree that you want to hold on to the thing and try to make it a viable organization or company, well, that's subject to all the rules of the having to do with, how to build a company. So it's raising money, marketing, controlling your trademarks, all those issues. And then the issue of I didn't know about this, the issue that you are using this to go pursue some other thing. Well, that's a whole other discussion. So that's probably not necessarily good for Startup Weekend as a business, candidly. However interesting it might be for you, and if I were an advisor to startupweekend.com or .org or whatever, I would say do everything they can to hold on to you as long as possible. Putting that aside, as a friend of yours, I don't even know you casually, but you've got some new startup idea. Cool, go have fun.
And just a little back history, this is an experiment that I never expected to take off, and my personal reach, my personal comfort zone with what do I want to do, spending 5 years on the project is not community, or it is community organizing, but it's not in a conference setting. So that's just a little backstory.
You could director emeritus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still involved, but not doing the practical day-to-day.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And I think that's what you're saying, still, right? It's not like Andrew Hyde has to do exactly what Andrew Hyde's done for the last 9 months. Andrew Hyde is still there, and someone else is doing other stuff.
Well, is it a for-profit business, or is it a non-profit organization?
We set it up as a for-profit with not the, express consent of we're not going to set it up as a non-profit, but just it's only 8 months old, and there's we set it up at first to get it started too.
Well, it seems like an interesting idea that, you've obviously been very successful, and it's something that's of interest to people, so, I don't know what you're intending to do with it, but certainly, it potentially is a viable idea. One of the things you and I talked about the other day is that you don't have very many sponsors, so in terms of getting corporate or product companies or whoever to put money up to help it, to the degree that lines up with their interests of how they want to market themselves, that's certainly the kind of thing you can do just a better job of by having a partner join your company with those kinds of, the kind of skill and background, and, just getting sponsorship, and then to some extent, of course, having some slight, curvature of the nature of how the thing works, so that they get value out of it. And then, there's that classic challenge. It's a media problem in general, print media or events or whatever. How do you control, or how do you give sponsors enough without letting them take it over is a constant issue, but it's been solved over and over again in events and everywhere else. So that might just be a matter of bringing new people into your team.
Or having
So, like her.
Yeah, it's kind of been a one-man show, really.
Or having a team. Yes, exactly.
There's been many people that help me out, but legal and structural stuff.
Do you have a question?
All right. A question from the room?
I guess so.
All right, come on. Thank you so much for your time, Andrew.
Thank you so much. It was so fun talking with you, and great to get yourself out as well.
We're going to play musical chairs. All right. I would like to introduce.
Hi, my name is Ben Ginzel. I just walked into the room, so I'm not exactly sure what you guys are doing, but I have a patent. I came to this weekend because I have a patent that I've been trying to commercialize, and I was wondering if that's in your realm.
Well, Stowe is an advisor to startups.
Okay.
So I would use his expertise the highest and best way to talk about a specific business challenge you have in mind and ask him for insight.
Well, okay. I mean, I haven't got a business. I have a patent.
Right. So you have a business challenge that you have a patent.
Excuse me?
There's a long line.
I said, and deposit your nickels in the slot.
Deposit my nickels. Okay. You take a check? I suppose I'm interested in somebody who can help me with a prototype, or somebody who might be interested in investing in the idea I have. I really just would like to, if I could, license it. It's for a reflective device on cars or street signs that responds to people's bright lights. And, basically, I wanted to put a mirror on the back of my car to irritate the people who had the red lights on, but then I figured I would turn it into a sign that would either show advertising progressively with the bright lights, or be a signal that, the lights were flashing.
So I guess the question is, if you have a potentially offbeat but kind of cool idea, you've gotten the